Hey, how's it going, friends? Thank you for tuning in to VR Revelations. Welcome. Please make sure you give this video a like and make sure you subscribe for future coverage. Also, if you would like to support the channel, check out the links below. So let's jump right into it, guys. It is April 10, the year of our Lord 2023, and I have another update video here on the situation in Bakhmut. As you can see here, I have the live UA map. Now, this is a map that I use pretty much all of the time. There is another Google map that I like to use, but this is the main one, and I think it's the most popular right now if you want to see what is going on in the battlefield in Ukraine on the front lines. And again, this map is pro-Ukrainian. It was developed, it was made by Ukrainian engineers, so everything you see reported here is being reported by sympathizers for Ukraine, right? By Ukrainians. This isn't a Russian map or anything. This is Ukraine itself admitting this. And we can clearly see here Bakhmut, guys, there's just a small pocket left. A couple of weeks ago, months ago, the Russians were back here on the outskirts of the city. And now, as we're going to be reading from this Reuters report, the Wagner forces, or Russia, is claiming to have control of 75% of the city. And as we can see here by this pro-Ukrainian map, it's pretty evident that Russia is in fact close to having complete control of the city. Now, again, we've seen Russia slowly advance throughout the city, and the Western propaganda machine has been trying to make it out and seem like Russia has been struggling, like, they weren't as prepared, like the Ukrainians were pushing back. But as a matter of fact, as I've been saying, and as we're learning, as more revelations and truths come to light each and every day, it looks like Russia was in fact using Bakhmut, as I've stated before, as a death pit. So instead of pushing beyond Bakhmut and making it their objective to run through this city as fast as possible, they realized that Zelensky doubled down on his efforts to try and defend Bakhmut. And so Zelensky continued to send thousands upon thousands of Ukrainian soldiers, even against advice from the United States a couple of months ago, when they told Zelensky to not cling on to Bakhmut, to let it go, to draw his forces and pull them back out of Bakhmut and save them for a future battle. Well, Zelensky completely shunned the U.S. advice, who are pretty much the only reason why Ukraine is still going, because of the support they have been receiving from the U.S. So it was pretty surprising that he ignored their counsel and decided to double down in Bakhmut. So the Russians took advantage of this, and this is why I called it a death pit. Essentially, what they were doing is sitting back, slowly advancing and destroying all the Ukrainian soldiers that were entering into this pocket of death, or this pit of death, as I referred to it a couple of videos ago. And they saw no reason to accelerate their push throughout Bakhmut. If the Ukrainians were going to come to them, if Zelensky was going to send their best soldiers in order to try and defend Bakhmut, which Zelensky and his generals made a big deal out of, saying it was an impenetrable fortress and that it couldn't be conquered, well then it was a good strategy for the Russians to just let the Ukrainian soldiers pile on in and kill them with artillery and other tactics, right? Such as missile strikes and airplane strikes. And of course, there's been a lot of fierce fighting going on in the streets between the Wagner forces and the Ukrainian forces. And so it seems that the Russians took advantage of this whole situation here, and now they are continuing to slowly move forward, and the Ukrainian forces, their ability to create a strong resistance there, has diminished. And so we're clearly seeing here by this pro-Ukrainian map that Bakhmut is getting swallowed up by this red wave here, much like we saw in Soledar right up here. Now, again, this isn't surprising at all, guys. If you follow multiple YouTube channels, you've realized that this is what we've all been saying, at least those people who are being honest concerning what is going on and not letting themselves be caught up in all this ideological debate and U.S. democracy versus Russia and autocracy or the dictatorship and whatnot. This is just the truth, guys. Ukraine never really had a chance. Simply put, Russia is a much bigger and stronger military force. They are a world superpower, and so Ukraine never stood a chance. And the only reason they are still going is because the U.S. and other nations have been supporting it. And, that support hasn't been enough to, to actually give Ukraine a chance to win the war. That support has done is, drag on the conflict and create more casualties for Ukraine. Of course, months ago, last year, we saw Russia and Ukraine possibly having a peace deal, and then big-headed Boris Johnson flew over there and interrupted that, and so more Ukrainians are dying. The West continues to supply weapons, but not enough to actually pose any threat to Russia, but enough to allow the industrial military complex in the United States to make billions of dollars and to try and destabilize the region, which is actually backfiring. Actually, if this did anything, was destabilize the United States and its allies and its deals that it had with other nations, and it's actually created a far more formidable and organized opposition via Russia and China, Saudi Arabia, and Iran. So this has become like the worst situation for the United States possible, and that's due to their leadership. Again, the U.S. is just a government, right? It has its laws like every other nation, but what it comes down to is the actual human beings that are alive right now in those positions of power. And they have been making terrible decisions, and they have been lying to the public. And that's the reason why I say this isn't surprising. What we're seeing here in Bakhmut is not surprising at all, guys. We've been saying this for the last couple of months. Now, the only people that are surprised about this are the people that have been falling for the Western propaganda, right, with CNN, with MSNBC, Reuters, all these Western, British, American news sources, right? They have been putting out all these false analysis of the war. They have been making people think that Ukraine is winning. And again, a lot of the people in Western society actually believe what their government is telling them, hook, line, and sinker, even though it's been proven that the government actually lies to its own citizens. We've seen this in countless wars, the Iraq War, Afghanistan, Vietnam, and, it's like that old saying goes, right? Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Well, the American people and the Western people keep getting fooled 3, 4, 5, 6 times. They keep eating what the government is saying, and I don't blame them, right? It would almost be silly to expect them to believe what Russia and what foreign nations are saying, right? After all, they want to be loyal to their country. They want to fight for their country. But, I appreciate people that are honest about the situation, and that's just something that the United States has not been. And again, there's countless videos out there of like George Bush laughing about the invasion of Iraq. He even called it an evil war, similar to what Russia is doing in Ukraine. According to Bush, he actually mixed up the names when he was trying to condemn Vladimir Putin for invading Ukraine. He actually mistakenly said Iraq, and he actually joked about it and said, haha, that too. So the only people that will be surprised by everything that's going on, and the only people that will be shocked once Russia wins this conflict as they are now, are those poor souls that deposit their complete faith in their government, in these hypocritical elites, right? These politicians who lie through their teeth in order to advance their own interest and to pretty much revel in their own pleasure at the sacrifice of the average Joe. And unfortunately, the average Joe doesn't really look deep into these things. They take every word of what their government says, and we're actually seeing that come to light through these official leaks that just came out. Now, can you imagine? We just had these leaked documents. Apparently, somebody leaked, U.S. documents where they were saying that Russia was really winning the war. And, I found that silly. Like, you really need leaked documents to tell you that Russia is winning the conflict? I mean, that's laughable, right? But of course, according to the documents, they've been inflating the figures. They've been misrepresenting what is going on. So again, this is no surprise to anybody who's actually looked at recent history and all of the lies that the U.S. government has told. And so this is another one of those cases, guys. There's no way Ukraine wins this war. There's no way the United States is going to go boots on the ground and fight Russia over Ukraine. They're not willing to risk their country. They're not willing to destroy the world over Ukraine. That was never the objective. That's why they always held back actually providing enough aid and armaments to threaten Russia. The objective here was always to try and destabilize the region and to inflict as much damage to Russia, but everything they thought and they planned completely backfired. Russia has only grown stronger economically. Its ties have grown stronger with Saudi Arabia, with Iran. They've pushed Russia, or rather China, into Russia's arms. There's a war about to break out in Taiwan. The U.S. is going to fail. So this is the fall of the greatest nation on earth, right? The United States. But again, guys, as I always say, the truth is stranger than fiction. And this has been prophesied in the Bible. All this, what the collapse of America is leading up to, is a new world order that's going to be headed by the United States as a front against Russia and China, against communism. And it's going to be religious in nature, mark my words. And then after that, then we will see a global catastrophe, a nuclear war. So don't think that we're going to have a world-ending event over Ukraine, over Taiwan. That's not going to happen. The U.S. is not foolish enough to actually get into a nuclear conflict over, the Taiwanese people or the Ukrainian people. But anyways, let's go ahead and read this short article here by Reuters. So it says the Russian installed head of the Moscow-controlled part of Ukraine's Donetsk region said on Monday that Russian forces controlled more than 75% of the besieged city of Bakhmut. The battle for Bakhmut has been one of the bloodiest of the 13th-month war, drawing comparisons with World War I due to massive casualties on both sides. Again, massive casualties on the Ukrainian side. We just saw by the leaked reports that the figures that the United States has been giving concerning the Russian soldiers killed in action have been inflated, which is, again, of no surprise. Moscow installed regional leader Denis Pushilin published footage of himself on Telegram purportedly visiting the small mining city where battles have raged since last summer. He is seen among ruins, clad in body armor with explosions audible in the background. Reuters was not able to independently confirm the location or date of the video. I can say with absolute certainty that more than 75% of the city is under the control of our units, Pushilin told state-run Rossiya 24 TV channel after his visit. Though he cautioned it was too early to talk about Bakhmut's fall. Russia says the capture of Bakhmut will open up the possibility for future offensives across Ukraine, while Kyiv and the West say that the now smashed city has only symbolic importance. In video from an unidentified underground location, Pushilin decorated fighters from the Wagner Group mercenary army that has been spearheading the assault on Bakhmut. So notice that it says here, while Kyiv and the West say the now smashed city has only symbolic importance. Again, that's a lie. Zelensky literally has come out on multiple interviews stating that, I covered, I think like 5 videos ago, Zelensky literally having an interview on a train where he was saying that he couldn't lose Bakhmut, that if Bakhmut falls, the Ukrainian people are going to lose faith in the war effort, and that the Western nations, along with the Ukrainian people, would start pressuring Zelensky for peace talks, for a peace deal with Russia, even though Zelensky is in no position at all to negotiate peace talks right now, right? Like they can't, they can't give any requirements or any conditions at all. At this point, they've gone past the red line, so they're at the mercy of the Russians, essentially. And, Zelensky's right. Once Bakhmut falls, it's going to be the biggest blunder in the whole war. It's going to be Zelensky's masterpiece of a tactical mistake, and a masterpiece for the Russian army. And, he's absolutely right. The Ukrainian people, first of all, they've already lost faith in the war effort. Everything Ukraine has been doing has been a complete disaster. They've really not made any major pushback or counteroffensive against Russia, and that's not going to come anytime soon. That would have been maybe a possibility a couple of months ago towards the beginning of the war, but now they are a lot weaker. The support from the United States and these other Western nations just isn't enough. So everything is happening as Zelensky feared, and he's absolutely right. He's going to be ousted from power. There's no way he's going to stand there before Vladimir Putin and sign a surrender or a peace agreement, right? And this is just going to be the catalyst for all of that here, the fall of Bakhmut. So there you have it, guys. We can clearly see here by these Western pro-Ukrainian maps that it's becoming undeniable that Bakhmut is all but done for. Much like Soledar, of course, you'll see the trolls in the comments trying to deny this, much like they tried to deny the capture of Soledar and all of this red area that is now part of Russia legally. And they are going to get a wake-up call very soon, and they will realize that they have fallen for the lies of the government again. And it's very sad. But anyways, that's going to be it for this video, guys. And again, remember, the truth is stranger than fiction. Have a wonderful day, and God bless.